This is Martin from MyAirly speaking, and this is the next episode of AirTalks by MyAirly. Let's prepare the air. And today, my guest is Paul Monks, Professor of Atmospheric Chemistry and Earth Observation Science at the University of Leicester, England.
Okay, Martin, thank you very much. I think we've been conducting the world's largest air quality experiment ever. So that's the way I would describe it at its largest. What do I mean by that? In many senses, I feel we've taken a look at the future and what we could achieve in the future if we were to mitigate the major sources of air pollution. In particular, we could be looking at what we could achieve in a low carbon economy. Why? Or what sectors have we really hit with air quality and the coronavirus? Well, we've really turned off a lot of our transport sectors. We've reduced cars markedly. In particular, you can see this quite clearly from space, where we've seen reductions in excess of 45% in terms of nitrogen dioxide, the bulk of which comes from either transport emissions or industrial emissions also. So in a way, really, for me, as a scientist, and one has to say, of course, that it's absolutely terrible the number of people that have died because of this, but actually it gives a real view of what we could achieve. And I think we're going to have an awful lot to learn about how much we've achieved and the ways that we can push that in the future to achieve cleaner air, which I think everybody wants. This is a much vexed question. I'll be honest with you, I've seen some fairly poor research on this. Some very, very poor correlative studies where they've said, air pollution goes up, coronavirus goes up, therefore air pollution drives coronavirus. So I think there's going to be a lot more rigorous work that's going to be required epidemiologically to drive this. If you were to ask me as a scientist, does it make sense that coronavirus, which is a respiratory virus, is enhanced by something like air pollution, which has an inflammatory respiratory response, as we all well know? Instinctively, it feels that it's not beyond the realms of possibility that there is a link. But I think absolutely we're going to need much more rigorous studies of this than some of the very poor work that we've seen done in quite a rush in the early part of the pandemic. I think I would return, though, to say, as part of this, that what we've actually seen is great respiratory benefit. So I saw a survey by the British Lung Foundation of people who are asthma sufferers, and many of who seem to be reporting marked benefits of having cleaner air. So we might not be talking about the effect that air pollution has on COVID, but in terms of a number of other respiratory sufferers, there seems to be anecdotal evidence that the clean air has benefited them. And I think for us in the long run, that's going to provide public pressure to drive cleaner air for the future. So I think that for me, it's reducing a wide range of sources. I think it actually varies when you're talking about it in a global sense. I think that we've got to tackle transport emissions, and that's going to mean electrification of the transport fleet. But electric cars are not the panacea for all ills in terms of air quality. They do have non-exhaust emissions. And clearly electric vehicles are also only as clean as the electricity that you use to produce them. And here in the UK, we're about to celebrate, I think today, in fact, 2 months without actually burning any coal as a power source. Now, that's partly a reflection of the amount of power that we've used over that period, but it does show that investment in renewable infrastructure can provide the bulk of a power, even in a crisis like this. So I think we do need to recognize that the answers are actually regionally and globally quite different. In Europe, much of the focus will be on transport and agriculture, where there's significant emissions that still drive aerosols. And it's worth mentioning that in the coronavirus pandemic, we've seen a great reduction in things like NO2 as an air pollutant. We haven't seen the same level of reduction, or as obviously, around other pollutants such as particulate matter. So I think there's a warning lesson there that not to get overexcited about all the different sources. So globally, I think we need to address the major source of air pollution. Electrification is a key way of dealing with that, but I think it's also modal shift. We've seen in the UK again, massive increase in the use of bicycles. And hopefully that will carry on after, now that people have bought all these bicycles, they'll carry on using active transport as the methodology. So it's not only technical solutions, it's got to be coupled to behavioral change as well.
Thank you very much. The guest of AirTalks by Airly today was Professor Paul Monks from the University of Leicester. Thank you very much.